Are you still searching for the perfect sketchbook? In this video, I'm going to share what to look for in a sketchbook and how to find the absolute perfect sketchbook for you. What you're seeing here are a whole bunch of my sketchbooks and books in the bookcase behind me. And whether you're an art journaler, new to keeping a sketchbook, want to try visual journaling, or some combo of all of the above, maybe you have experienced this common dilemma of trying out a whole bunch of different blank books and just not being satisfied with what you're finding. I can completely relate to this. Before I jump behind the camera, I just want to say hello and introduce myself. If you're new here, my name's Lisa Sonora. I'm the founder of Visual Journal Studio. And in addition to being a visual artist, I paint, I do graphic design, I'm also an author, I'm a former art therapist, and I developed this technique that I teach of visual journaling as a way to experience more well-being in your life and as a creative practice so that you can develop a more meaningful way of expressing yourself in your art. A visual journal is a perfect place to do that.
The first thing I like to consider when choosing a new sketchbook is what size. This is a stack of some of my sketchbooks, ranging from large, the big spiral one at the bottom of the pile, all the way to small enough to fit in the palm of my hand. Those are the two sketchbooks on the very top of the pile on the right. If you're like me, you might have many different size sketchbooks for different projects. The thing to keep in mind is portability, if that's important to you. Do you want a sketchbook that you can carry around with you? In that case, pick out a sketchbook that's small enough to fit in your favorite bag that you always have with you. If you're primarily going to be using your sketchbooks at home or in your studio, what I suggest is that you pick out a sketchbook that will easily fit in your workspace, whether it is on a bookshelf that you have or on the table that you work on. The next thing to consider is what type of binding that you'd like to use with your sketchbook. And by that, I mean this part's your binding. And there are basically two types of bindings to choose from. Spiral binding, which is here, and then this is called a perfect binding. So in this case, the perfect binding means your pages are all sewn together. Here, let me show you this way. So in this way, the pages are all sewn in and you don't see the spiral edge. Your choice of binding will be really your personal preference. Do you like to open a sketchbook and have it lay perfectly flat? If that's the case, then you will love working in a spiral bound sketchbook. Now, if you don't want to have to see the spiral edges, then go for a perfect bound sketchbook. These are a little bit, they don't lay exactly flat. Again, this is going to be a matter of personal preference. What I suggest is that you get a spiral bound sketchbook and a perfect bound sketchbook and try working in both and see what you prefer. I work in both types of sketchbooks. It just depends on the particular project and what I'm working on. For visual journaling, I really love having a perfect bound book. It's just my personal preference. Spiral bound books come in really handy during art classes or when I'm drawing and painting and want to flip my pages over really quickly. If you want to fold the pages back on themselves, there's definitely times and places for having a spiral sketchbook. And again, I would say the main thing is it comes down to two factors: your personal preference plus what do you plan on using the sketchbook for. If you ask yourself, Those two questions, you'll easily be able to decide which type of binding is right for you and that particular project.
Next, let's talk about what type of paper you should choose for your sketchbook. I would categorize the kind of paper I've used for sketchbooking in 3 different categories. One would be really thick watercolor paper, and sketchbooks that are designed for watercolor will be labeled watercolor versus the mixed media type sketchbooks will be lighter weight paper. It's often a little bit smoother, but it still will have some toothiness to it. It won't be completely smooth like notebook paper. Finally, there is the plain note paper. That's what you would expect to find in a written journal type notebook. I'm going to use the word sketchbook because I use everything as sketchbooks and notebooks, but for books I'm writing in more than drawing or sketching or keeping a visual journal, I buy loads of these small Moleskine notebooks. When it comes to paper, some paper will be smoother, some will be more textured. So that's one consideration. How does the paper feel? How does the art material you're working with feel on the paper when you're using it? So pens and markers will feel maybe differently than your pencils. You just have to experiment with your supplies on the different sketchbook pages and see whether you like smooth or textured paper. I almost said smooth or crunchy, like peanut butter. It's a very personal preference, and it also depends on what supplies you're using. And then you'll also want to consider how heavy the paper is. A lot of people can get really hung up on this and think, oh, if I buy the thickest paper and the most expensive sketchbook, then that will be the best one. But really, you have to just consider what type of medium you're going to be using in your sketchbook. Are you going to be using watercolor? If so, then having that heavy watercolor paper will be great. On the other hand, I feel like an all-purpose choice for pretty much everyone, whether you're keeping an art journal or a visual journal or you're practicing your art techniques, is to grab a mixed media sketchbook. And they may have different covers, it really doesn't matter. What you want to check is how heavy the paper is. So in the US, we weigh paper by pounds. This particular book is 98-pound paper or 160 grams. I really am a big fan of these XL sketchbook. They come in different sizes. This is the plain mixed media one right here. And the way I've actually made the paper sturdier for painting is I cover the pages in gesso. I put multiple layers of paint on them, and that works just great for me. So I have all the different sizes of these. They do get quite heavy, so they're great for working at home. Or if you're toting one of these to a life drawing class or an art class, you can handle one. But yeah, I have so many of these and just love the paper in them. They work really well and they're affordable, I think, for what you get for a sketchbook. And then in terms of my preferred sketchbooks for visual journaling, I mentioned before, I love a Perfect bound journal. I usually get them in 2 sizes. So there's the smaller size here and this kind of 8.5 by 11 size. This one's also by Canson, and I've had a lot of these sketchbooks for a long time, so sometimes the mark rubs off in the back. If you're like me, you've wondered, is there any such thing as a perfect sketchbook? Here's a little bit of hard-won advice. The perfect sketchbook is going to be the one that you are able to work in without feeling like You'll have to have something important to say or create in order to quote unquote mess up your blank pages. What you're seeing here is this, it's called a sketch diary. I don't even know if they still make these anymore. But this is a 9 by 6 inch sketchbook that I used to buy by the dozen back when I was still in college. And at the time, money was tight. It was definitely my starving artist phase. And this was the cheapest sketchbook I could find. I used to buy it at the drugstore. I think they were about $3 a piece. I don't know if you can tell the date here. This was late August 2001 to November of 2001. I would go through these sometimes one a month, but definitely one every couple or 3 months at the longest. So I was going through a lot of these, and while they contain tons of writing, these are actually my pages during the 9/11 attacks. I was traveling actually at that time full-time in a Volkswagen camper. I was taking a year sabbatical, so to speak. That's a longer story, but that's all I can share right now. But I was traveling really light, just whatever I had with me that I could bring in my van. And so I was keeping my art supplies small and simple. So I basically was just using a lot of markers at the time while I was traveling. So this sketchbook, even though the paper is thin, it's not a big sketchbook, it's not a fancy sketchbook. Actually, here's a fancier version of this underneath. Let me show you. I did buy these Strathmore sketchbooks with recycled paper. Loved those. Used these a ton. Went through dozens and dozens of these. Slightly upgraded version. Here's the non-recycled cover here. See, $7.15. Those were more than double what I was paying for the other ones. So what I will say is that whatever you have, whatever you can afford, whatever you feel not so intimidated by, that is the sketchbook to start with. It may take several fits and starts for you to find the perfect sketchbook for you, or the perfect sketchbook for the circumstance that you're in right now, but it is well worth discovering. If you can afford to buy many different types of sketchbooks and test them out, do that. I would caution you and guide you, though, to make use of whatever sketchbooks you already have. Now, this is especially true if you are interested in keeping a visual journal, which is not about making art, but it's about keeping a personal diary, like I have shown you in some of these examples, that is illustrated. So if you love to combine words and images together along with your personal diary, your personal growth journey, then you'll love visual journaling. So I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know in the comments, what is your idea of the perfect sketchbook? And does that change? Do you love spiral bound? Do you love perfect bound journals? What size sketchbook do you use? If you want to learn more about how I teach visual journaling as a creative practice and support for your well-being, I will leave a link in the description below where you can download my free guidebook. It's all illustrated with images from my own visual journals. If you're not sure how to approach keeping a visual journal, check out this video about building your self-confidence by keeping a visual journal. Okay, see you next time.